Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic back again, this time to talk about AEW Double or Nothing. A huge show, very stacked lineup, and of course, the return of a full attendance of live fans. Would that make all the difference, and would it be a good show? There's only one way to find out, so join me right now as we take a look at what happened at AEW Double or Nothing 2021. One match on the pre-show to talk about, of course, Serena Deeb, the NWA Women's Champion, defending her title against Riho. This is a very good back and forth match, really good, high above the standard that we perhaps normally associate with pre-show matches. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. A lot of nice near falls and false finishes for Riho, a lot of reversals from Serena Deeb, and she even healed it up just a little bit because of the dynamic of the match. And in the end, she picked up the win by submission. Great stuff to start off the show. Now onto the main portion. Our first match of the main card sees Hangman Adam Page take on Brian Cage, who, remember, does not want Team Taz's help. This is a classic battle of two big, hard lads, with Brian Cage even rocking the special tinfoil entrance gear. One thing that was very apparent during the buy-in pre-show was what a difference the Capacity Live crowd were making, and that carries on here into the first match of the main portion of the night, with the crowd absolutely on fire for everything the two guys are doing in the ring. We get a lot of big boy spots going back and forth, but it's Brian Cage who gives us the biggest spot of the night so far, with a huge superplex to the outside on the ramp. He hits an avalanche F5 back inside, but Hangman kicks out. So in desperation, or maybe through a little bit of cockiness, Brian Cage goes to steal the buckshot lariat. On commentary, Taz is saying, whoa, we didn't talk about this. This wasn't part of the plan. And Hangman catches Brian and hits an F5 on him. Stolen finishes all over the place, but Brian Cage kicks out. Cage comes back very strong with a big series of moves ending with a spinning Liger bomb, but again, Hangman kicks out. So now Hook and Ricky Starks from Team Taz arrive, one distracting the ref while the other slides the FTW title belt to Cage for him to use on Hangman. But Cage, of course, refuses to use it and throws it out of the ring. That leads to his undoing as he turns into a buckshot lariat from Hangman Page, and Hangman picks up the big opening victory. This is a very hot start to the show. The crowd were awesome, so were the guys in the ring, and it's pretty much exactly what you want from a show opener, with the added storyline elements as well of continued dissension in the ranks of Team Taz. Next up, we get tag team title action as the Young Bucks defend their belts against Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And let me tell you, the babyface entrance is absolutely wild, no pun intended. Moxley is all kinds of fired up, and of course, it's great to see Eddie Kingston get this sort of reception from a crowd this big for the first time in his career that I can think of. The challengers jump the Young Bucks when they do their streamer pose, and we get a big crowd brawl. Brandon Cutler tries to get involved to help his boys, but Moxley and Kingston drag him into the ring and take him out, and finally the match can actually begin. A little while into the match and the Good Brothers come out for the distraction, but Eddie Kingston takes out Gallows with a dive off the apron, while here comes Frankie Kazarian, the Elite Hunter, to take out Carl Anderson. But it is enough of a distraction to allow the Young Bucks to use the cooling spray on Jon Moxley, but he's just able to kick out, even though he's now busted open. The Bucks then hit Moxley with a big indie taker on the ramp, but he's just about able to break the referee's count. So the Bucks keep going for what works for them. They're big moves. They go for multiple Meltzer drivers, but the faces keep breaking them up. And then the faces take control of the match and hit a Dior Jordan assisted Doomsday device, but only for a near fall. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that Kingston and Moxley brought the Bucks' shoes to the ring with them by way of like taunting them, saying, well, we've got your shoes. It was cooler when they did it than me describing it now. We then get a series of false finishes as Nick Jackson reverses the paradigm shift into a sharpshooter and Moxley almost passes out from the pain, but Eddie Kingston breaks it up. Moxley then does hit the paradigm shift on Nick, but Matt Jackson breaks up the pinfall. The Bucks then go deep into their arsenal and pull out the rarely seen super kicks. No, I'm only joking. They hit loads of super kicks all the time, and this match is no exception. They drill Moxley with a load of kicks, and then Eddie tries to get involved and he takes a lot of super kicks, and then they go for more super kicks on Moxley. You get the picture. But Moxley kicks out of the pinfall attempt at just one. The Bucks are angry because of this and nail Moxley with 4 consecutive BTE triggers, and that's enough for the win. The champions retain their titles. This was another really hot match, great stuff generally, although I did find the ending a little bit deflating. It felt like the Bucks should maybe have won by sneaky means, in my opinion, rather than by hitting a load of big moves on Jon Moxley of all people, and then just being able to pin him. But anyway, largely, it was an enjoyable bout. Next up, Paul White is out for guest commentary for the Casino Battle Royale. Now, I'm not going to go through every single elimination, but I'll run through all the entrants and any big spots that happen here and there during the bout. The first 5 entrants are Christian Cage, Matt Sydal, Powerhouse Hobbs, Dustin Rhodes, and Max Caster of The Acclaimed, who has some bars for everybody, of course. At one point, he says, yo, Christian dusted off the cobwebs, but he was only cool when he had an edge. The next group of 5 is led out by Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy, who try to take out the following entrant, Preston 10 Vance of the Dark Order, but he overcomes the numbers game, takes them out, and runs down into the ring. He is followed by Nick Comoroto and Serpentico. Dustin Rhodes eliminates Comoroto and 10 as well, but Nick Comoroto comes back with a vengeance and blindsides Dustin with his own bull rope, and Dustin, of course, is eliminated shortly after that. This continues the whole theme of the warring factions, Cody's friends versus QT Marshall's guys, and of course Anthony Ogogo's guys, building up to that match later on. The next batch of guys is led out by both Varsity Blondes, followed by Colt Cabana, Anthony Bowens, and Penta. It's worth noting at this point that we haven't seen Christian or Hobbs for a while, both recovering on the outside, but not out of the match. The final group has Jungle Boy, and everybody is of course loving Tarzan Boy by Baltimore. What a tune. We also have Mark Quinn, Aaron Solo, Evil Uno, and Big Shotty Lee Johnson. Hobbs and Christian come back in after a while, and Christian actually eliminates Powerhouse Hobbs, one favourite in this match eliminating another, and it's down to Christian, Jungle Boy, Matt Hardy, and both members of Private Party. And of course we get the Joker of the pack, who is revealed to be none other than Lio Rush. He gets a big reception and runs wild for a little bit with his otherworldly agility, but Matt Hardy and his guys team up to eliminate him. Christian and Jungle Boy then do some teaming up of their own to eliminate both members of Private Party. Matt tries to strike an alliance with Christian, saying, hey, we were in the Attitude Era together, remember? But Christian doesn't want any of that and throws him out. We're down to Christian and Jungle Boy. They go back and forth and battle to the apron, where Jungle Boy slips out of an unprettier attempt and swings around the ring post to avoid elimination, a fantastic moment, and he backdrops Christian out shortly afterwards for the big win. This of course means that Jungle Boy gets a future AEW World Title shot, and Christian shows him massive respect in the aftermath, saying, you better go and win that title. And I'm really glad that Jungle Boy finally got to win one of these. It was the least complicated and possibly the best Casino Battle Royale we've had so far. Next up, we get a Memorial Day weekend presentation, followed by the transatlantic war between Cody Rhodes and Anthony Ogogo. Ogogo hits the body shot early on, and Cody sells it big, and then Ogogo hits an Olympic slam, but Cody kicks out at 2. Hot start from Anthony Ogogo. Things then settle down into a bit more of a standard wrestling match, and Ogogo looks good, it's worth saying. Clearly, he's trained very, very well, and there's a lot of snap to his movements. He looks like a natural in there. He does get busted open, though, and Cody uses this to take control of the match. They head up top, but Ogogo knocks him down with a big right hand, and after some consideration, hits a lovely frog splash, but it's only good for 2. On commentary, they're making a lot out of Ogogo's recent rib injury and his historic issues with his eye, which is strange for somebody built up as a very vicious and merciless heel. So they are seemingly generating a bit of sympathy for Ogogo. Cody weakens him with the figure 4 leg lock, but then goes for the crossroads, and Ogogo reverses it, hits another big body shot and a big uppercut, but Cody luckily lands under the ropes to avoid a pinfall attempt. Cody fights back, they go back and forth a little bit, and then Cody hits the vertebraker and wins. That's what he wins with. I mean, it's a big move from Cody, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the crossroads or anything. I thought it was going to take more to put away Ogogo, is what I'm saying. In fact, even though this was a great match and a really impressive big performance from Anthony Ogogo, who's still obviously very inexperienced, he exceeded my expectations by far, but I feel like there was a bit of a disconnect between the feud and the match. The feud was really overhyped, it seemed like Ogogo had a real chance, and then the match itself was more a tale of Cody winning against a very promising upstart. I don't know whether we were guilty ourselves of overhyping Ogogo's chances. I'm not quite certain. Next up, we get the TNT Championship match with Miro defending against Lance Archer. Everybody dies, and it's now or never. Still sounds like John Bon Jovi and the rest of Bon Jovi. Archer attacks Miro during his entrance. He's his usual very intense self, and they're going for it straight away. Miro gets put through a table at ringside, but then shortly afterwards he throws Archer over the crowd barrier with a big belly-to-belly suplex. They go back and forth until here comes Jake Roberts with his infamous sack. But Miro grabs it from him and launches it up the ramp. Now, we never saw the snake, so don't worry. I don't think there was a cruelty to animals. It's fine. It's fine. It's probably fine. Miro measures Jake the Snake, who of course he attacked during the build-up to this show yesterday, but Lance Archer manages to save his manager. Miro avoids the blackout, they both end up on the apron, and Miro kicks the middle rope into Archer. From there, he takes control of the match, hits the big kick, and applies the game over. Archer passes out after a bit of struggle, and Miro wins the match. He retains his title and looks incredibly strong in victory. No complaints here. It wasn't the most complicated of matches, but it certainly didn't need to be either. Next up, another title match as Hikaru Shida defends her AEW Women's Championship against Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D. This feels like Britt's big moment, but will she get it done? This one has a bit of a technical start with lots of grappling, but they head outside before long, and Shida hits a big crossbody onto both Britt and Rebel. Back inside, Britt takes control and hits the stomp before getting a special pay-per-view edition glove from Rebel to apply the lockjaw, but Shida rolls out of the way. Things escalate to bigger and bigger moves, with each woman kicking out of the other's signature offense. Shida locks in the stretch muffler, so Rebel distracts her to break the hold. Rebel goes to use the crutch and accidentally blasts Britt, but Britt kicks out. It's an effective false finish, but we get an even bigger one seconds later as the ref goes to eject Rebel, allowing Britt to take advantage of the distraction and hit Shida with the Women's Championship title before curb stomping her onto it, but Shida kicks out of that. Later on, Shida hits her big running knee, and Britt kicks out of that. A lot of kickouts here down the stretch. Britt rolls up Shida, but Shida, of course, kicks out of that, so Britt clamps on the lockjaw, and after a brief moment of struggle, Shida taps out to a huge pop for the dramatic title change. Britt Baker is the new AEW Women's Champion. Big celebrations from Britt. Rebel runs down to the ring. They're all, celebrating, and then Britt heads up the ramp and gets a big hug from Tony Schiavone. Isn't that a wonderful moment? In all seriousness, it is a fully deserved title victory for Britt Baker, and I have no doubt that her reign is going to be a very entertaining one. Next up, we get Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky in tag team action against Darby Allin and Sting in Sting's first big match back in front of a live crowd. Darby wipes out Page with a big dive to start things off, while Sting brawls with Scorpio Sky up to the stage, but he takes a big vertical suplex, but he no-sells it because he's Sting. And then, just in case anybody was doubting that still had it, he throws Scorpio Sky off the big poker chips as part of the set before launching himself off the poker chips with a huge splash onto both men. Very impressive stuff. We get a section of the match where there's lots of heat on Darby from the heel tag team, waiting for a hot tag from Sting, but then out of nowhere, Ethan Page launches Darby over the top rope into the lap of his brothers sitting at ringside. It's a huge, terrifying spot, which is par for the course for a Darby Allin match. Sting drags Darby out of the crowd, but is hesitant to roll him back into the ring for more punishment, so Darby just breaks the referee's count himself and is perfectly willing to take more punishment because it's Darby Allin. Darby manages to turn the tide of the match and get the hot tag to Sting, who runs wild with a few splashes. Darby tags back in, but Ethan Page takes control, but then Sting's still in the ring, so he catches Page in a Scorpion deathlock. While this is happening, Scorpio Sky gets in the ring and catches Darby Allin in a heel hook, and then you've got a situation where Darby and Page, two very heated rivals from the past, are facing each other while caught in submissions, and because they hate each other so much, they just decide to claw at each other's eyes while caught in the submissions. It's an awesome spot, very unique, and it gets over the hatred between the two. Sting gets another tag from Darby, and Scorpio Sky is now all on his own. Sting runs through a bit of offense, then gets the Scorpion Deathlock, and that's enough for a very popular win. Next up, it's time for the AEW World Title triple threat match between the champion Kenny Omega and the challengers Pac, and Orange Cassidy. Pac and Omega start things off, but Cassidy runs wild with some offense of his own to the delight of the crowd because, of course, he is the heavy fan favourite here. Now, JR on commentary does imply at one point that Pac is from Wales, not the northeast of England, but thankfully Excalibur corrects him because clearly he got an A in geography. Kenny starts to take control, hitting a big dive onto both men on the outside, but back in the ring, as he and Orange Cassidy exchange roll-ups, Pac comes off the top with a huge 450 splash. Omega goes for the top rope dragon suplex on Cassidy, but in a great moment, Cassidy gets his hands in his pockets to block the move, allowing Pac to pop up top and nail Omega with an avalanche German suplex. Omega starts dishing out the knees and climbs the ropes with Pac on his shoulders, but Pac sunset flips him down. They head back up top. Pac nails a huge top rope Falcon Arrow, but Cassidy runs in to steal the pinfall attempt, but Kenny kicks out. Great moment there. Pac is obviously angry at Cassidy for trying to steal his pinfall, and Cassidy answers Pac's rage with his little funny kicks, so Pac just drills him with a low blow in full view of the referee, but of course there are no DQs in a triple threat. Pac then gets the Brutalizer submission locked in on Omega. He's beaten him with that before, but Cassidy frees him from the hold, only to nail Omega with the beach break, but it only gets 2. Cassidy then nails both opponents with orange punches, and Don Callis leaves his spot on guest commentary in a total panic to pull the referee out on the stroke of 3. Pac then locks in the Brutalizer on Cassidy, and Omega tries to break it, but Pac just won't let go, like he's stomping away, and Pac just won't release the hold, so instead Kenny just takes out the referee. Kenny then nails Pac with various belt shots from his various different title belts, but here comes Orange Cassidy back in with an orange punch. He covers Kenny Omega, and here comes Aubrey Edwards. 1, 2, and then Kenny Omega reverses the pinfall into a crucifix pin of his own, and that gets the 3. This was an awesome match in my opinion. Great stuff, some very well thought out moments as well, playing into the various character traits of all 3 men. But the drama is not quite over yet, as Tony Schiavone takes to the ring and announces the new analyst for AEW, specifically for the upcoming Rampage show, which starts in August at some point, I believe. And that analyst is revealed to be none other than the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, who of course gets a huge reaction from the crowd. And finally, the main event, the Stadium Stampede match between the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle. And remember, if the Inner Circle lose, they have to disband forever. The match begins in the stadium with MJF pulling onto the football field in a limousine and cutting a promo, but he's interrupted by the Inner Circle abseiling down from the top of the stadium. What a fancy pants entrance. They try to break into the limo, but it's all a fake out as the rest of the Pinnacle arrive in a Jeep and the brawl is on. They're brawling all over the stadium, but we focus on MJF, who is hidden inside the limo. He emerges to confront Jericho and they begin to fight, and MJF briefly takes control with a fire extinguisher, but Jericho chases him into the stadium concourse. MJF throws hot coffee into Jericho's face, but Jericho regains control by screaming into a megaphone close to MJF's face. Very, very unique and very Chris Jericho. They brawl into a meeting room and find a couple of the Jacksonville Jaguars coaches who provide Jericho very handily with weapons. They give him a couple of footballs and a laptop to bludgeon MJF with. Jericho throws MJF through a table, and we then cut to Wardlow and Hager battling in a walk-in freezer where Wardlow, honestly, briefly attempts to use icicles as weapons, presumably to slay Hager where he stands. Hager manages to avoid it, and Wardlow continues to beat him down until Hager has to defiantly flip him off, which only angers Wardlow and leads to him spearing Hager clean through a wall. Elsewhere, Sammy Guevara is looking for Shawn Spears, but the lights go down and come back up to reveal Shawn Spears sat very dramatically in a chair storage room because he's the chairman. He likes to use chairs. He doesn't really get to use any of the thousands of chairs around him here because Sammy takes control of the brawl with a sick wall flip, but then Spears manages to regain control and discards a pair of bolt cutters nearby to just use a chair instead. You silly boy. He handcuffs Sammy to a nearby storage shelf thing and walks off, but Sammy sees that the bolt cutters have landed within arm's reach. The two tag teams, Proud and Powerful and FTR, encounter each other in the bar area and start throwing glasses and throwing right hands as well, am I right? And the DJ in the background is revealed to be Conan, which is nice. Back to Hager and Wardlow, they are still brawling and they fight up onto the top of a golf cart where Hager choke slams Wardlow off through a wooden pallet. But now back to MJF, he's still brawling with Chris Jericho now in the office area, and MJF accidentally hits a cutout of Tony Khan's dad. Jericho says, "Oh, you are in such big trouble, you naughty boy." Although perhaps not quite as strange as that. MJF pile drives him onto a conference table and covers him, but Jericho kicks out at 2. So MJF gets a hammer and is about to smash Jericho's injured arm, but Jericho fights him off and hits MJF with his trusty baseball bat. Guys, this match is going on quite a long time. Anyway, Jericho throws MJF through a glass door and we cut back to Shawn Spears. Spears is walking down a hallway and is confronted by the Inner Circle Motorcycle Club, who chase him down the hall, and he ducks into a nearby side door. Nearly done now. Back to Jericho, who drags MJF finally into Daly's place. The live crowd obviously come alive once again because the wrestling's now happening before them after quite a long time. MJF and Jericho brawl in the crowd and Jericho wins the brawl, but then we cut back to Shawn Spears, who is now being chased by Sammy Guevara in a golf cart, and he actually hits him with it. Nice job by Spears on the bump there. And they actually head down into the actual ring. Sammy goes for a springboard, but Spears catches him in midair with a chair shot for 2. He then hits Sammy with a stiff chair shot. Sammy does get the arm up though in time to protect his head, and again he is able to kick out at 2. Sammy manages to find a burst of energy, hits the GTH and stomps Spears into the chair before heading up top for a big 630 senton, makes the cover and wins the match to save his stable. And that is how the show ends, with the rest of the Inner Circle piling into the ring to celebrate with Sammy Guevara. And while I enjoy the booking of Sammy as the big hero, kind of his redemption story after walking out on the Inner Circle a little while ago, I still think a lot of this match could have potentially been trimmed down. I understand that they wanted to go for a big cinematic finale and everything, but I do feel like in parts, it certainly dragged a little bit. Still, that should not take the shine off what I thought was, on the whole, a very positive pay-per-view. But what did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments section down below. And thank you very much for watching this video. I've been Jack from Cultaholic, and that is what happened at AEW Double or Nothing 2021. Thanks once again, stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.